Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. Thank you for joining us for our second half hour. Tonight, we're looking at an issue in some classrooms right here in Houston, around America, particularly how some teachers are not patient enough to deal with children with extra needs. Joining us to talk about it, educator Arnetta Murray, who is a special needs teacher, mental health counselor Ashantia McKnight, and parents Eric Goodwine and Sharita Humphrey. So first of all, Eric, you brought this topic to me because you're in the process of moving your child out of a Houston area school district. What occurred that made you so upset that you said, I'm taking my child out of this school district?
Well, thank you, Isaiah, for having me tonight. And one of the reasons, and it's actually Humble Independent School District to be exact, and one of the reasons why, or many reasons I decided to remove my son from the school is because they really just don't know how to handle my son. My son is very active, he's very loquacious, he's very talkative, but also he's very intelligent. And I think because of the number of students in the class, when you have a student who's extra, who has a lot of activity, teachers tend to have not enough energy nor patience to deal with all those children. Mm-hmm. Imagine you have 5 or 6 kids that are all active. Somebody's going to lose out. And so I just noticed that my son was coming home traumatized. He was frustrated. He felt like he wasn't getting help. They weren't responding to him. He was also dealing with a lot of bully situations. And so when he was dealing with those bully situations, he had to defend himself. And so when he began to defend himself and retaliate, it was like he was the kid with the behavior issues because of his activity and his interaction with the teachers and also with the bullies. It just became overwhelming.
Now, Sharita, you decide to pull your kids out of the school district completely, and we're not talking about Humble, but just whatever school district you were in, to homeschool them.
Yes.
What did you see, what did you experience to make you pull your kids out?
Like Eric, my child was being bullied, and he was just talking about it repeatedly, and very smart and very intelligent, but he's more on the very quiet side of things, not really talkative. He's like me, more of an introvert. And so most kids who are introverted, not mostly extroverted, on the opposite side of them, they can be bullied as well, even in school. And so for me and my husband, we just decided, you know what, let's try homeschool. Homeschool has been, it was amazing. I got to homeschool for 4 years. And I think that him having that experience and now going back into the school system now, going into a more of a charter school type of environment, he's thriving. But I think having that, and one of the things that I share with Eric that he missed is a lot of things, like even writing in cursive. You know, he's been able to test 1 or 2 grades ahead just because he's very focused on, and they're really focused on the emotional side of what's happening with education, which sometimes gets skipped over because there's so many kids in the classroom, and it's not. And sometimes the teachers don't have the capacity to be able to deal with so many different personalities and future leaders all at once.
And Arnetta, that is your specialty, dealing with kids who may have special needs, extra needs, whether it's autistic or ADHD. But you're prepared for that.
Yes,
so
sir.
where do you find the wherewithal and the capacity to deal with that and the temperament?
I think it's a calling, to be honest with you, and it's hard to find those type of teachers today. Unfortunately, the ones that are there, they are so overloaded. I heard him say earlier about, you know, he was in a classroom, and you know, as he was talking, I was thinking, did he have autism? Did he have ADHD? And so when you have all of that, and you have...
And you can spot that.
Oh, I did, when he was talking. Yeah. So, and you're in a general ed class, that is overwhelming for a teacher. And then if she's not using the supports, or they don't have in-class support, because you don't have teachers that are working because of the district that's going on right now. Teachers are leaving by the busloads. So then you just try to put somebody in there, don't even know what they're doing. So teachers like me who care, they're giving me a whole lot of kids to work with, because when you're a good teacher, they give you all those kids. And so you got to try to make things happen, especially if you're looking at the child itself. But a lot of times we're underpaid. You know that. Mental issues for teachers. Teachers are going through a lot right now. We're fighting for our jobs. So yes, it's a cycle that needs to be fixed. So yeah.
Wow. And Ashanti, what advice would you have for parents? Because every parent is not able to homeschool their kids.
Right.
You know, that takes work too, no matter what you're going through. So what advice, if you feel like your kid is not being properly treated in the school district, what would you tell parents to do?
Right, and it's a privilege too. I want to say that's amazing. It's a privilege, and I love the option of homeschooling. But one of the things I would tell parents is know your rights.
Right.
You know, and if you don't know, I'm talking about educational rights, federal rights, right, through Section 504, these type of accommodations and specialized education plans that are available for students. A lot of parents don't know their rights, and if they don't know their rights, there is someone at that school that they can contact that can get them into contact with someone. Well, teachers should know, right, and advocate. However, as he said, teachers are overloaded. But there are people on that campus that say, hey, we can give you this pamphlet, we can point you in this direction, we can give you outside services, because the school is not a catch-all.
Exactly.
Right? There are services that can be offered outside of school to help bridge the gap, to help parents.
And one of the things that Eric brought up to me when he came to me with this idea was 504. For parents who don't know what that is, what is that exactly?
So Section 504 is about disabilities. It's a Disabilities Rights Act for children and adults. It's not just limited to children who have a disability that limits one or more major life activities. So that's ADHD, often falls under Section 504. A parent can either ask the school for interventions or evaluation, or go to a medical doctor, a psychologist for evaluation, bring the data up to the school and say, what accommodations can my child have that will help them access their curriculum on level like their peers?
And typically, 504, the IEP, Individualized Educational Plan, that's what we're supposed to be implementing anyway. And it's a collaboration between the stakeholders, the parents, the teachers, and to make sure that we are implementing that. What can the parents do? Fight. Keep fighting. You got to fight. And if the fight doesn't go your way, then you do what they're doing. You know, like she's saying, homeschooling, or, you know, just making sure we stay.
Okay, we're going to take a break and we'll come back and finish talking about this in just a moment. Stay with us here on The Factor Uncensored. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. We're jumping right back into our conversation about care in the classroom, particularly for those students who may have needs, and of course, teachers who don't have the temperament to provide it. Our guests are back here on The Factor. And so, Arnetta, for those who are wondering, you have assisted parents before, but they didn't follow up. And it's a fear of being labeled, their child being labeled or separated or going to a different school or a different campus. Tell us about that.
Well, I think I was listening to these experts say, I love it. I love the diversity here. Some parents are nervous, they haven't come to grips about their child. And some parents, I know one, he did, but they didn't listen to him because of how he came at. And like you said earlier, it seemed like he was attacking. But I knew that he wasn't, he was just fighting for his child. So you passionate. Very passionate. But again, this is what I said, I had 5 kids. And so, you know, it's hard with 5 kids. What do you expect with a teacher with 25 kids? And so that being said, he did what he was supposed to do. You have to fight, you have to advocate, and then if it doesn't, and she's right, a lot of parents can't go to homeschool, but these parents have to speak up. They have to be visible. They sometimes want to blame the teachers a little bit too much, but I've known sometimes parents are not even accessible. Few and far between, and you know, telling the truth. So if more would speak up, things will change.
Now, Sharita, you have decided, you know, you've gone through the process, you've taken your child out, educated your child yourself through homeschool. Eric, are you willing to take that step with your son if necessary, and if necessary, put him on a special campus or a special class? Are you concerned about, is that one of your concerns as a father?
So initially, Isaiah, I was kind of apprehensive and reluctant because I needed to observe my son's behavior for myself. I needed to observe his behavior in the home. I needed to observe his behavior interacting with children. I need to observe his behavior interacting with the teacher. So once I started formulating and understanding what ADHD was, and I saw the behaviors and the characteristics that my son exuded, you know, jumping into the conversation, fidgeting, moving around, jumping, bouncing, concentration, attention deficit. When I saw those certain characteristics, I said, it's time to take action. Had them assessed, went with the assessment, and then now we need to do what we call a treatment plan, where we can teach them how to cope with those things. And then you have to understand some kids are just not designed for brick and mortar. Some kids just don't do well. My son liked to stand up and read. They said, no, you need to sit down. He said, I need to stand up. They said, no, you need to sit down. Well, accommodation says, let the kids stand.
Absolutely. Right.
So because it was such a tussle for him and he began to get stressed out, he actually exuded, Dad, I'm tired of this. So I said, I'm taking you home. I'm bringing you home. We're going to homeschool you. Now I can control his environment. I can control his interactions. But at the same time, he still has social interactions because he does sports. He plays golf. He has friends down the street. So he has.
He'll have a prom. in homeschool. They do all of that.
They do everything. So Sharita could kind of speak to that, too.
I think that one of the things, and I was talking to Ms. Arnetta, a lot of people think that because a child is homeschooled, that they have no social interaction, that there's no focus on emotional learning. And I can tell you that is a myth that I want to definitely dispel. Absolutely. Because I can tell you as a homeschool mom and a homeschool parent, this was a collective. Like it was my mom, my husband and I, and we made sure that we were very focused on it. And many people don't even realize how many groups are out there that are available connecting with this state. We live in a great state where homeschool is supported. And so that's why I've said I'm glad to be able to live in a state that supports alternative learning and leaving it in the parents' hands.
And Shantia, before last 20 seconds here, what would be your best piece of advice for a parent who's going through with what they're going through, but they don't know what to do in 20 seconds?
Reach out to the school and see who can connect you with resources and information. Let go of the 80s and 90s of what we conceptualize what a classroom is. Absolutely. Now we're dealing with the least restrictive environment for the child. That's not what we were used to back in the day. Things are different. You have rights. Please exercise your rights.
All right. We want to thank you all for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored, and hopefully we help someone out there. Still ahead tonight on